Hi, name's Mandy Gutzel from No Limits Coaching and Training Company. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm coming into contact with quite a few new networks at the moment, and yeah, I just thought it'd be useful to know a little bit about me. I thought back to my work, went into psychology, mental health nursing, and was thinking about that being the start of my journey, for helping people, for empowering people. Always had this love of learning at the centre of it all and helping people change. But then I realised actually it happened before then, or started before then. I remember being asked to be a Sunday school teacher about the age of 12, 13. Me and my one of my best friends, Julie, we ended up running the youth group at the church when we were about, I don't know, 17, 18. And being the eldest of four, probably, yeah, the writing was on the wall, so to speak. But I've always been quite a reflective practitioner. So my brain is constantly thinking, creating, but also considering how I can apply learning in a very practical way. That's always been quite important to me. And I think when I was doing my mental health nursing and then went straight into rehabilitation, enabling adults with a range of mental health needs to really regain their esteem, to recover their sense of worth, and go back into some kind of community areas, whatever that meant. At the same time, I was already looking at ways to help the staff members, looking at their mental well-being, creating groups around supervision on their practice and so on, and that happened quite naturally. And I then there was an opportunity. I mean, I'm going back now, 25 25 years, 30 years. It's a bit frightening to think about. But I was working at Samuel College, and the provision was about empowering, again, it's adults with a range of mental health needs in its broadest spectrum. And me and some of my colleagues at the time, but it's particularly me and a colleague, Tracy Austin, we from scratch were developing, delivering, evaluating all these personal development courses. But at the centre of it was about empowerment and learning, being at the forefront of really giving people a sense of identity and creating opportunities, really opening up possibilities in its broadest sense. And perhaps to some extent also I suppose you could say the label of student or learner was for some people more empowering than perhaps some of the possible diagnoses they may have had as well. And I remember Tracy on a few occasions, and in fact quite recently, has said, "Man, do you realise, we were at the forefront of what we were doing then? Because when we see a lot of things, that have been promoted and developed now, it's interesting. I go, oh, been doing that for a long time, and particularly courses in anger management is a real piece I've developed over the years. Assertiveness, conflict resolution, confidence building, resilience, mental health, advocacy, suicide prevention. Real fundamental things that really enable people to develop their skills and their life skills and engage in life. And then from that point, I was always very curious. I was also quite creative. And so I went on to also train and develop as a drama therapist. I really started to develop and build my own business at that point. I was naturally being asked to do a number of pieces of work. and so eventually went part-time, my college work at that point, and then ultimately felt it was more of a challenge for me to continue to develop my work. So coming back, say, to the drama therapy again, I've always been the pioneer. I was at the forefront of knocking on doors, educating people about what drama therapy is about, how it can help, offering many experiential groups, and over the years, I offer both one-to-one and group therapy, and particularly with drama therapy. But I have to say, my skills within groups have really, really been maximised. I've worked an awful lot with a range of groups, and this includes schools, primary schools, secondary schools, colleges, pupil referral units. I've worked a lot in adult mental health, sort of community venues, care homes, worked with refugees and asylum seekers. I've also done quite a lot of work with the domestic abuse, refugees, and so on. I've also worked at places like the Priory on child and adolescent units. I've worked in what you class as high secure offending units. I've also worked for a number of years alongside some other colleagues, psychotherapists, in a male prison. So what I suppose I'm also aware of is that the breadth of clients and the kind of community venues and places I've been in and worked in over time, again, have really stretched and developed my skill set, and beyond that part of my my skills and my training, I also I say I discovered coaching. Somebody else, one of my friends years ago, had really been developing the background in coaching, and she'd had a coach herself, and said, "Man, I think this would be right up your street. You should look into it." So I did, and in fact, how I came to coaching initially was I actually took on my own life coach and thought, okay, let's see how this works, by experiencing it myself. And I was really, quite surprised actually by how much I gained from it. And interestingly, how at times I thought, oh, I've touched upon shared things there that seemed to flow and was very natural. And in some ways, perhaps a little bit more sharing than maybe some of my having my own therapy and counselling. That was an interesting experience. So I went on to do a lot of coaching training because I could really see the potential. I could see that the idea of looking at possibilities, future potential, and really getting much more, I suppose, tangible about putting things into place to move things forward. After a couple of years, I also really found and explored the Enneagram as a profiling tool, and had the massive privilege of training with Russ and Don as well. It's actually at Woodbrook Quaker Centre, which was not far from Faircroft College, where I've also delivered and developed courses for many years as well. So yeah, it's been quite an experience over the years. I'm now trained in mental health first aid, which is, for those of you who perhaps have not heard of it, it's the equivalent of physical first aid. So it's really enabling people to try and help others to look at how you can signpost and encourage people to look after their mental well-being, maybe before they might get to a point where they're needing to see or waiting for a professional, or it may be that there are things that can be put in place to look after a person's mental well-being, and so they may not necessarily need to get to a point of where they actually see, a sort of a GP or another mental health professional. But it really is about the fundamentals of being able to open up honest conversations around a person's mental well-being. So yeah, I'm really feeling quite energized, quite inspired about being able to do that work, and also because it really brings the idea of people's mental health into mainstream. So working with staff and professionals in sort of care, in education, but also in the workplace across the board generally. So when people are looking at their own, sort of health and safety risk assessment, looking at people within HR, they're often at the forefront and have quite a challenging job at times of trying to help other people's mental well-being. And actually for me it's like also who's helping that person to look after their own mental well-being as well. And so I think the mental health first aid qualification can really help people in that respect as well. My without sort of spending too long on it, really, my personal experiences in life have really informed and impacted on who I am, how I go about my work, engaging in life generally. A lot of people may or may not be aware I lost my mum to cancer very suddenly when she was about 55, 56. Literally within 4 weeks of being diagnosed. Her sister, within 2 weeks of each other, she died of cancer. My dad had serious head injury in a car accident, and that really impacted. And then he died after Mum a number of years later. So the impact of losses has been quite significant, but that also influences how I go about engaging with others. The sense of at times I've always had quite a sense of my own mortality, if I'm honest, and an urgency, I think, around that. We don't know, and it's really true. I know we probably hear it all the time, but we really don't know. How long we've got. We don't know if we're going to be here tonight, tomorrow, another minute. Who's to know? So I really believe in grasping things, for all they worth, really. And I think I think my experience as well within really developing and stretching myself within business, within my own personal development, and within my bringing in my personal life experiences, I think really stands me in good stead when I'm helping people, whether that be through my therapy, I whether that be through my coaching work, particularly with sort of head teachers and other significant staff members in education, whether it be care leads and care managers, whether it be within my training, both my courses, the mental health first aid, my supervise a lot of therapists, practitioners, people in education, care, coaches, again to reflect on their own practice, to make sure that they're being effective in how they're developing themselves, their work, and their own clients, and that they can just sometimes take things from a little bit of a distance, have a bit of an overview, make sure that they're not getting too close or too immersed in some of the issues, and being able to perhaps see things from a different perspective as well. So that's I'm sure I could say a lot more, but always could. And I love poetry. I'm really trying to develop a lot more of my poetry at the moment. I also love writing. I've always loved writing. Really enjoy writing. Was writing a book when my daughter was about 12, 13, and that's been on pause for a while, and I think I'm at the point where I'm trying to reconfigure how some components of that and my my experience of parent coaching and my organisational system coaching, how that links with my own personal story, with how I've reconnected with my upbringing with my mum and my dad, and then how that influences my communications with my daughter, and bringing that into me and her, and her now being an adult in her own right, and what that means. So I'm still re-looking at that, rediscovering perhaps on some level. And I was thinking about what was behind me actually. So, who's behind you? What's behind you? So I've got my books, which I love. My books are a very familiar and comfortable part of my life. They have been from a very young age, and I find and seek learning, discovery, new places, but also I think a bit of escapism at times, perhaps in books that have stood me in good stead. I've also got, I didn't realise at the time till I looked closer, this board game here called Wavelength, which I found really interesting, because if I was to describe my energy and the way I connect and I am with people, I would say things like, oh yeah, you're on my wavelength. So that says something about how I communicate. The lovely mask adds to the the creativity, and I love those sort of colours as well. Interestingly, this here in the corner is my my Bible. I was given, well, as presented at church when I was 1978. So many years ago, but it's still with me, interestingly, as a faithful. And it's I have a, I'm doing that attention at times. I think in what I believe or don't believe or question, but it's still there. It's a comfort on some level, and so I'm still exploring the tension with that. And talking about tension, the no limits name, there are no limits, but at the same time you need to know your limits. So I love that idea of the paradox and metaphors and the tension in, oh, what does it mean to know your limits? But actually there are no limits, but really there are. It's just like this constant push and pull type effect, which I really enjoy. So I'm actually going to close with the canvas. This is a huge canvas behind me. You can only see a small part of it, and that is it on an actual card, like a postcard. And many years ago, a guy called Louis Parsons from Art with Soul, in his early days, he was talking to me about his creating his soulscapes and his images of bringing his art and his coaching together. And so he asked me a number of questions, and from that process created this visual image of what I represented based on what I'd shared. And it was interesting because I remember him then saying, we got to the end of our conversation and he said, oh, Mandigers, it was great. He said, I didn't have to ask you an awful lot. You just went there and so I shared it really quickly. So it's called The Awakening. And on the back of the postcard, I'm going to read to you exactly what it says. So it says, The Awakening represents an inner self-portrait of all that I offer to my clients. Colour, passion, clarity, depth, cut to the chase, energy, emotion, fulfilled potential, power, play and honesty. And then there's 3 questions. What is it time for you to wake up to? What do you want? And if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And then to awaken your power, it says contact me. So that is something, and those questions, by the way, are still very real and relevant and pertinent, because I continue to work on myself all the time. I've got my own coach, I've got my own a Gestalt therapist, I've got my own supervisor. I take my my rigour and my self-development and my stretch yeah, I take quite seriously. Well, I take very seriously actually, and we're all still work in progress, and I certainly am. So, yeah, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know, talk about cut and edit, but hey ho, that's me. So, if you think there's anything I have to offer and that I've shared that connects with you, and you would like to talk to me about any aspects of my work and how I can help you, it could be yourself, it could be a family member, it could also be other contacts you have within staff organisations, particularly, as I said, I think within education and care. That's where my background and my affinity really connects with as well. So yeah, if so, then please do contact me, mandy@nolimitscoach.com, and I look forward to continuing my conversations and perhaps doing some more videos, but I suspect maybe slightly shorter. Who's to know? Maybe longer. Then yeah, but hey ho, listen, I am what I am. It is what it is, and yeah, I don't. No apologies for who I am. So take care. My signpost, lots of warmth and sparkle. That's really important part of me, and I shall hopefully speak to some of you really soon. Okay, take care.